Good morning, evening, or afternoon, everybody. It's Kaghoe coming at you with another video. So, following up pretty much everyone talking about the Scarlet Enclave and whether it is too hard, too easy, and just sort of the great divide we are facing here in Season of Discovery, and the conversations is having for if we go to the future with a Classic Plus and we see new raids similar to this, what we're going to be having. And I have talked extensively about this and shared my opinions, and they're very vocal in the past couple videos. So essentially, you guys should know where I stand on this by now. If you haven't checked them out, definitely check them out. But essentially, I think it is far too hard, and I really think that the challenge is nice, but the enrage timers are just unrealistic for the SOD player base and people doing it. So I would like it to be hard and be mechanically challenging, but at the same time allow people way more time to do the fights. And that's essentially what I would like to see and hope that we are seeing tomorrow with the changes we know are coming from Agron's comment. But anyway, I think it's also important to hear what other people have to say, and this has been a very hot topic on the forums. So today I wanted to take the time to cover other people's opinions, voices, and sort of talk about them. And we're going to start it off with an absolute banger that I think is really funny that someone even posted this. So here we go. What players defending the tuning of Scarlet Enclave fail to realize. As of right now, there are 24 times the amount of guilds who have cleared Mythic Liberation of Undermine, the current Mythic retail raid, than there are of people that have cleared SOD Scarlet Enclave with 20 people. Its intended raid side. If you truly believe that a raid in SOD should be this much harder than a Mythic retail raid clear, you've lost the plot. So he does have some really good points, but I would like to see the, as this comment says, the per capita. I think it would be really good to see like how many total retail raiders there are to how many SOD raiders are, and see if there's any correlation there per capita. It would be much better than just to boldly say this, because there is so many more people playing retail than Season of Discovery. I would say it's probably 10 to 15 times more, but if that is still true, it still holds up that it's harder to clear Scarlet Enclave on 20 than the Mythic Undermine. Obviously, I'd love to have more data and numbers, but I just thought this was hilarious. People, Sensei here, said, you came up with something clever and you seem to be loving spamming this comment, but in reality, it's a stupid line of thinking that doesn't rent with anyone. You aren't fooling Agron, you aren't fooling anyone who has done these raids. Okay, and then they just go back and forth at it, but I think it's just really funny, and it might, like, we just need more data to have any plot with this, but it does feel like that's the type of prog they want us to do, is Mythic raiding prog. Next, we have this guy who said, 2 weeks of testing and everyone hates the new raid. So I only got 2 bosses down this week and lost progression because people don't want to come to this raid, so filling raids is near impossible. Long story short, people want to quit the new raid until it's either fixed or tuned properly with all the garbage AoE removed from trash, and the boss's AoE raid damage needs to be nerfed by like 50 to 80%. The bigger health pools on enemies was actually really cool, and having big AoE damage on these enemies is stupid. You nerfed it the wrong way. No one wants low health, high damage enemies we have to burst down real quick. Give us real enemies and make it so their attacks do a lot of damage. They have 1 or 2 abilities. This current meta of having to kill every trash mob, do like 10 things, sucks and no one likes it, and everyone hates this stupid new raid. So the student needs to like learn how to type and have better thoughts. But on 2 weeks of progression, we should be clearing 2/3 of the clearing raid. I'm not going to sit here and farm this raid for the next 6 months just to get my loot. We want our raid loot to do our DPS and parse. I don't raid to get stressed out every week. We raid to have fun with our friends and build up our characters. Next was the perfect level of protection. Why are you guys making the game worse? And no one wants an uphill slog where we won't get our raid loot until the phase is already coming to an end. I shouldn't still be desperate to see if items drop from AQ 40 for the first time. Fix your loot tables and normalize how many tokens drop. I'm sick and tired of 90% of the tokens being for warriors. We literally throw that token in the garbage while shamans can't get 2-piece for the set. You guys clearly put something in place to screw over the horde raids. It's obvious. Buff 2 hand-in-hand shamans, please, and nerf the raid already. Okay. So dude is just mad, really mad. Let's see what other people have to say. 100% agree. I'm not playing Sonic to smash my face into the keyboard. I want a decent challenge from the mechanics. Have fun with my guildies. Get off some loot wiping. 20 plus times in our idea is not fun. It's frustrating. It makes me want to quit. Absolutely there. Hate is a strong word. There's a lot to unpack here about the new raid in the current state relative to this being the last raid in the end of SOD. SC is marked different than anything else we've gotten in SOD outside of pre-nerf ST, and we're getting very polarizing responses from the bases. For some dad gamers, SOD is meant to be a easy blast through raid 2 hours with the boys experience. This isn't close to that. You could argue Blizz missed the mark on what the player base wanted or had been expecting given the prior raids. For people intending to stay in SOD and long term, at least enjoy the last few months of it, this raid does not offer much more staying power in terms of offering a reason to keep playing. We had full cleared week 1. People would have quit after beating the game. There are people looking forward to progression. This also may make more sense from a numbers retention policy for Blizzard, which at the end of the day, cash is king. This is mathematically more intense than any other raid, and I think players appreciate the difficulty and increase. However, one shot, it shortened rage timers, tons of trash, and the overtruement of the raid relative to player power and needing to clear it was a bit of a mess. There's a fine line between progression and a stonewall, and this is leaning towards a stonewall. The nerfs to every spec prior to release did not help. The dynamic needing of more than 25 to 30 players clearing after months of only needing 20 core members in a guild, along with SOD lowering preparation, was a miss. Blue's push towards guilds being the main rating scene away from other rating types, CSG to KPs, and the commonly generally positive responded to that. However, now that is upended and your guild doesn't have enough people and you can't find pugs if they get loot, it meaningfully stops progression. If those same pugs don't come back, this seems counter to the push of the guild core scene as Blizzard wanted. On a whole, I think this raid has some cool stuff in it and has a lot of potential and does offer a nice difficult raid for the people who intend to play to the end. However, it does feel like a miss from the perspective of a general community, and once the casual dad leaves en masse, even the people currently enjoying Prague and eventually full clearing will find themselves with no one else to play with. I think this raid was more of a shock to everyone, and we haven't come to terms with it yet. I think this was a very well written response and pretty accurate. Like I said, all I think they need to do is just remove the enraged timers. Once you see the mechanics, once you do the fights, you get good enough at them that you could beat it. And none of the other fights had these hard DPS check and rage and timers. And I think it is very retail. Yes, I like the difficulty. I don't want to see them change the difficulty. I just want longer enraged timers, maybe go from 5 minutes to 8 minutes. I think that's very reasonable and it allows the dads to clear the raid with a reasonable expectation. I want to avoid just bringing 13 healers and just ignoring mechanics and healing through it. That is something I want to be clear on. So I think enraged timers have a purpose to avoid those long comps and stuff like that, but I still think the content needs to be clearable to a degree, and having to bring the extra people with the amount of loot we are getting makes it very, very hard, and you can't really bring in pugs. I'm blessed to have a huge guild, but I still have the same problem. I'm really looking forward to this next week and getting our 2 sets from the Chalice, however. Then let's go ahead and read this guy's post. Scarlet Enclave is mathematically overtuned and progression feels hopeless, not heroic. I want to talk about the current state of Season Discovery's final raid, Scarlet Enclave, and why, for many players and guilds, tuning has crossed the line from challenging to demoralizing. Traditionally in WoW, when a guild talks about progression, it means pushing through past tough mechanics through perseverance, coordination, and learning. It's about mastering the encounter and getting better with each pull. That is a core philosophy so integral to WoW since the earliest raids. Simply does not apply here. The gear checks and tuning of the Scarlet Enclave are so steep that getting good is no longer good enough. You either do raw numbers or you lose, period. This is how I felt with Council. Like, it had me to the brink of almost giving up. And for me to say that, and actually, like, I was as close to going through with it. We killed it with 5.2 seconds left, and I had to bring 37 people of our best raiders. So I understand that deeply. Balnazar, so he goes down and breaks down each boss where It's kind of crazy. The alien boss has 20 million HP and is a 3-minute in range check. You need a minimum of 111k raid DPS to kill her. That's double what you need for Balnazar. To hit that number, you need most of your DPS to have 6 pieces. That's 84 tier pieces across 14 raiders. And your guild kills 6 bosses weekly. That's 5 weeks to clear that boss. So it's kind of insane, and we'll see it. And this is a progression. It's a gear wall. Absolutely true. So this guy right here, Frenzar, or Fresnar, has the exact point. Simply remove or greatly extend enrage timers. Let people execute the fight mechanically instead of being a gear check. An 8-minute enrage or 20 men killed it in 5 minutes. Don't kill all 3. Kill one of the top boss. Your tactics are horrid. That sounds legitimately tough in your current gear. To be fair, thankfully that is the 7th boss in the raid. Has massive power creeps in terms of gear, so just gear up. I raid with 3 separate groups, and the only wall I see is Council. Everything else after the Beatrix nerf seems like a decent curve. There's entirely beatable at different raid sizes and skill levels. Yeah, Council's really hard. Tonight, me and the Sod Saviors will be doing Lillian, so I can't wait to see that, and maybe some Balin progression. But if you want to check out the raid, definitely come by at twitch.tv/Kaghoe Gaming at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. We will be blasting it, but I just wanted to take the time to really see what other people's opinions were, where they were siding. I couldn't really find anyone that was for it or loved it that had much like any responses or views, and as you saw, we dove into the contents of those comments, and it just really I would love to see someone make an actual argument for why it should stay hard. I would love to cover that as well. However, it just seems a lot of people are in the same boat and kind of agree where my stance is. And I've always said the Sod Saviors feels like a great example of the player base because I straight up take everyone. I have semi-hardcore requirements. I want you to be full buffed, full consumed. I want you to have enchants, and I want you to play your class decently. But I'm not asking anything crazy as far as like being a XYZ parser. I'll literally take anyone if you gear up and do that. And we have lots of dads, we have lots of hardcore raiders, we have a nice melting pot of everyone, and it's been a really cool experiment and fun to do, and we killed Council with that philosophy and formula. So really awesome stuff. But anyway, like I said, stream tonight to see if we can get the final 2 bosses down, and I hope you guys stop by. And if you have an opinion, I would love to hear it. Definitely drop it down below, and until next time, I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey you. Yes you. Are you still there? Well, I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this entire video and making it to the end here. If you enjoyed this video, definitely check out the other videos about World of Warcraft listed in these playlists down below. And thank you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.